Is marriage on its way out in America? Yes, probably, in my opinion. I don't really think that's a good development for people in our society, but I do think it's going to eventually happen. Yes, I do believe marriage is on its way out. And a lot of the reasons I think it's on its way out is because of economic factors. They're mostly economic factors that are causing a lot of this in society, in my opinion. One of the big things is people can't afford it anymore. They simply can't afford to be married, especially in the younger generations, such as Generation Z and the younger millennials. This is happening. In this video, I'm going to present some factoids, why I think more or less proves why marriage is largely on its way out as an entity in our society. One of the big things that's affecting this in the last maybe 30 some years is a very high divorce rate in the United States. I've seen numbers that the divorce rate in America is actually about 63% or somewhere around 60%. This is not good, and this has a lot to do why I think people have moved away from marriage and have gone into cohabitation and just dating forever without being married, which is a fairly big part of our society. One thing you have to realize is people that are from divorce tend to be about 4 or 5 times more likely to end up divorced based on the numbers I've seen in my life off and on since the 90s. People also have a lot of issues right now affording kids, which goes back to affording marriage. Some people simply can't afford this anymore because of the lack of good paying jobs in our society that has kind of imposed this on people. Society has changed a lot, in my opinion, since the 1990s. People staying single is a lot more accepted now than it was back in the 1980s or maybe in the 1950s. For example, my Generation X had a 35% single rate in my generation. That's an approximate number, but that's about right, which was a lot higher in comparison to the generations before us, which were the silents and the boomers. We were a smaller generation with a very high divorce rate. Our divorce rate was 53%, and a third of us never married, including me. That's just the way my life worked out, and many others were like me in my generation. Society has changed a lot since the 90s. According to Google, you had a 72% marriage rate in 1954. In 2010, that had dropped to 54%, according to the Institute for Family Studies citation on Google. That's a big drop in roughly 50 years, folks. A big drop in marriage. It's also a big drop in what is socially acceptable since the 90s, in my opinion. Younger generations are single and not dating. One big example there would be Generation Z. Most of these people are not dating, they're not getting married, they're not having kids. The same thing probably could be applied to the younger millennials. The people that were born somewhere around, I would say about the late 90s or somewhere in there. It's the same type of thing that's now going on. I think in about 10 more years, maybe less, it's just about over for marriage. I think marriage will mainly be an entity of the rich and those who can afford it in the upper middle class. I do think it's on its way out based on objective data. According to Google, you had a 41% divorce rate in America. In my opinion, it's a lot higher. I've seen numbers that is around 60% or in the range of 50 to 60%. Where I'm from in suburban Detroit, the suburbs of Detroit supposedly have a divorce rate of 53%, which is really bad, and we're not even the biggest suburban area in the whole country. I believe Atlanta and LA have more sprawled out suburbs than we do. That's as bad as the divorce rate in my generation, the exact same number. That's one of the reasons I think people that go into marriage without a prenup or a post-marital contract are very misguided. In fact, I believe they're naive. Most marriages don't last. I've done previous videos on this. The U.S. economy has a lot to do with it. I know one time Tipper Gore had said, Americans are under so much economic pressure. It is no surprise to her back in the late 90s that there was so much divorce. She was right. The U.S. economy has a lot to do with it. High cost of living, lack of good jobs, all these things add up. It's also very expensive to get prenups for some people. The basic cost of divorce can be about $10,000. In some situations, it can be a lot higher. In some situations, the cost of a divorce can be a lot higher than the cost of that wedding. The average wedding in America is about $50,000 in my opinion with inflation. It can get very expensive if these things don't last, and many people end up in bankruptcy. That is the reality of it. It can be expensive to get lawyers and draw up prenups, but it can be really bad if you end up divorced in some scenarios. Once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration to my channel again this year. My next video is going to be on why there are so many liberals in Hollywood. And if you have an interest in Hollywood history or the Red Scare way back in Hollywood or whatever, you may have a lot of interest in this video on the Hollywood left. Thank you for your time. It's free to subscribe.